The air was heavy with the scent of the sea that morning, the kind that clung to clothes and reminded everyone in the village of both survival and struggle. Lila had been up since dawn, her hands raw from hauling fish, her voice hoarse from calling out to passers-by. Just as she was arranging her last basket of mackerel, she noticed him, sitting quietly by the corner of her stall. His clothes were tattered, his hair matted, and his eyes empty, as though they had forgotten how to hold light. People glanced at him with disdain, muttering, "Stupid man," and walking away faster than before. But Lila didn't see stupidity, she saw hunger. She saw someone's son, someone's brother, someone's human life that had been discarded by the world. Her heart tugged in the simplest, most natural way. Without thinking, she tore a piece of bread from her own meager meal and held it out to him. The man looked at her hand, then at her face, confusion flickering into the faintest spark of gratitude. For a moment, the marketplace noises dulled, the clamor of vendors, the haggling of customers, the gulls crying overhead, all seemed to fade, leaving just the two of them in a quiet, unexpected exchange. Lila smiled gently, the kind of smile that said, "I see you, even if no one else does." And in that single moment, a story far greater than either of them could imagine quietly began to unfold, born out of nothing more than compassion. When Lila brought the stranger home, her little shack by the dock suddenly felt fuller, as though a secret had taken residence there. He sat awkwardly on the wooden stool, his hands fumbling with the cup of warm broth she had placed before him. He drank like someone who had forgotten the rhythm of eating, spilling more than he swallowed, yet Lila only chuckled softly and handed him a cloth. He spoke very little, his words jumbled, almost childlike, and when she asked his name, he simply stared as though the question was too heavy to carry. The neighbors noticed quickly. From the cracked windows and narrow alleys, whispers began to swirl. "She's crazy," one woman muttered. "Bringing a worthless man into her home. He'll only be a burden." Another shook her head, pitying Lila's naivety. But Lila didn't care. She saw the way the man flinched at raised voices, the way his shoulders curled inward as if shielding himself from years of invisible blows. More than anything, she saw how desperately he longed for gentleness, though he couldn't ask for it. "Don't worry," she told him, setting a blanket over his shoulders that night. "Sometimes broken people just need someone to believe in them. That's all." He didn't answer, but his eyes shimmered briefly, as though her words had cracked open a locked door inside him. And though she could not explain it, Lila felt that by giving him shelter, she had also given herself a reason to hope for something beyond mere survival. Days slipped into weeks, and the stranger, whom Lila had begun calling Evan, slowly wove himself into the rhythm of her modest life. At first, he stumbled through even the simplest tasks. He would grip the knife clumsily while trying to gut a fish, or knot the nets so tightly they tangled into useless clumps. Lila never scolded him. Instead, she laughed, guiding his hands gently, showing him how to hold the blade, how to weave with patience instead of force. There was a warmth in her teaching, a patience that made failure feel less like shame and more like practice. Bit by bit, Evan began to change. He still spoke little, but his silence no longer felt empty. He carried baskets for her at the market, fetched water without being asked, and even startled her one afternoon by humming a tune she didn't recognize while mending a net. His laughter, when it came, was raw and unsteady, like something long buried rising to the surface. One evening, they sat together on the shore after work, watching the sun sink into the waves. The light stretched across the horizon, painting the world gold and crimson. Lila handed him a small piece of roasted fish, and for the first time, Evan met her eyes with clarity. In a halting voice, he whispered, "Thank you, for seeing me." The words were fragile, but they pierced straight to her heart. And in that moment, Lila realized she wasn't just rescuing a man, she was helping him remember how to be human again. The storm rolled in without warning, the sky split open with thunder as rain lashed against the wooden walls of Lila's shack. She was fastening the shutters when headlights cut through the downpour, sleek black cars pulling into the muddy lane, so out of place among the fishermen's huts. Men in suits poured out, umbrellas snapping open, their polished shoes sinking into the dirt. Lila's heart raced as they called out one name, over and over, Mr. Crosswell. Mr. Crosswell. Evan froze. His shoulders stiffened, and for the first time since she'd met him, his posture straightened with an authority that didn't need explanation. The men approached, bowing slightly, their eyes wide with relief. "Sir, we've been searching for weeks," one said. "The board is in chaos. The company needs you back." Lila's breath caught. She looked at the man she had taken in as a lost soul, a child in a grown man's body. But here he stood, revealed not as a beggar, not as the village fool, but as the CEO of an empire. Her mind raced with disbelief, yet her heart stayed still, because whether rich or poor, powerful or broken, he was still Evan, the man who had learned to laugh beside her. Turning to her, his eyes softened, cutting through the suits and the storm. "I wasn't stupid," he said quietly, almost apologetically. "I was lost. And you found me." And in that fragile truth, the walls between their two worlds began to dissolve. Months later, the marketplace no longer felt the same. Where once there had been whispers and doubtful stares, now there was laughter and curiosity. Lila stood behind her stall, arranging fresh fish with practiced hands, but this time she wasn't alone. Evan was there beside her, sleeves rolled up, joking clumsily with customers, carrying baskets like any ordinary fisherman's husband. The villagers who once called him worthless now greeted him with respect, still adjusting to the idea that the quiet man helping sell fish was the CEO of a vast company. Yet Evan didn't seem to care about their opinions, he only cared about the simple joy of standing by Lila's side. Together, they had built a rhythm that blended two worlds, her humility and his hidden power. Evan often teased that the little stall was their first empire, while promising that whatever wealth or influence he held would never change the home they had created together. Lila, who once lived only for survival, now lived with a heart full of possibility. As they closed up shop one evening, Evan took her hand, their fingers laced with quiet certainty. "This is where I belong," he said softly, his gaze lingering on her as though she were the anchor that steadied his entire life. The gulls cried above, the waves whispered at the shore, and the future stretched wide before them, full of love, family, and second chances. What began with an act of kindness had bloomed into something extraordinary, a life built not on wealth, but on the power of seeing, and saving, one another.